Hey everyone, this is Professor E. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access is a database management system. It is basically an interface between the users and the data. It's an application or software that allows us to store, manipulate, manage, and retrieve data in a relational database. So in this lecture, we are going to learn how to create a new database from scratch and then create tables. So today we're going to create only one table just to make it simple. So we're going to use an example of employee database, okay? And then we're going to create only one table. As you can see, this is the attributes of that table, employee. Every employee has an employee ID, first name, last name, state, hours, pay rate, date hired, and health insurance. And in the second column, you can see the data type. That means what type of data we are referring to. So for employee ID, it's a text. Text, what we mean by text is just basically a combination of characters like letters and numbers. And then the same thing for first name and last name. There's just characters, okay? State, the same thing. And then for hours, it's not a text, it's a number because, and then hours, we mean that the weekly hours, like how many hours the employee works. And then the pay rate is how much he gets paid or she gets paid per hour. So that's currency because it comes with a dollar sign. The date hired, that means the date the employee was hired. And then the data type is the date and time, depending what format we're going to be using. And finally, health insurance, as you can see, it's either yes or no. Either the employee has health insurance or no. Okay? So now let's go ahead and create our first database. So to start Access, we go to search and then we type Access. As you can see here, Microsoft Access, we click on it to open the program. As you can see, there are different ways you can create a database, either using templates that are available. Now for us, we're going to use a blank database so we can learn it from scratch. So I'm going to click. And then as you can see right here, you need to specify the location. So I'm going to click on the folder, and then maybe create a folder here where to save all my databases. So I'm going to call it My Databases. Okay. And then my first database, I'm going to call it employee. So the database basically is the entire container where all the information are saved. Then within our database, there are tables. Tables are specific information. Like, for example, I may have a table called customer. It has all the information about customers. I may have a table called suppliers, all the information about suppliers, where we get the information from. And then another table called employee has all the information about employee. Another table about, anything that I may have. So that different table, but all of them are part of our database. Okay, I just decided to call the database employee. I don't have to, I can call it something else. I can call it inventory, for example. Okay, so I'm going to call my database inventory. So there's no confusion between employee as a database or as a table. So I'm going to call it inventory, and then I'm going to click OK. Okay, and then create. As you can see here, it shows the location of my database, and then click create. So as you can see right here, this is our database called inventory. And then by default, there is one table. By default, it's created for us. So as you can see right here, there are two views. There is a design view, that where you create the table and then you specify the fields or attributes, and this is where you put the information data. So we always start from design view. So I'm going to click on design view. So as you can see, Access is asking me to name the table because it says table one, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to call it employee. So that's my first table. And then click OK. And see right here, it changes automatically. And then it's showing me that a table, it looks like a table where I have to specify and list my fields or attributes, and then the data type of each one of them, and if there's any description, which is optional. So the first one, I'm going to call it employee ID. So employee ID is just like social security number. It's very unique to every person, to every employee. Okay. And then the data type is, I'm going to call it short text, because employee ID is just a combination of letters and numbers. So short text, and then can you see here there is a key by default. There's a key. This is called the primary key. Let me put it as a. So what is a primary key? Primary key is a field like any other field, but it is unique. It does not accept duplicate. There is no way you're going to find 2 or 3 employees who share the same employee ID. But it is possible for employees to share the same first name or even the last name, the state, and other information. So why do we need primary key? Because it allows us to connect and establish relationships between tables, and that's something we're going to learn later on. For this lecture, we are going to focus only on creating a simple table. So after employee, you can have only one primary key per table. And then we have the first name, which is a text. And then we have last name, a text. And then we have state as a text. Now, as you can see at the bottom, you can be more specific. For example, state, by default, it says field size 255. I'm going to reduce it to 2 because I'm going to use an abbreviation. Like, for example, for Texas, I'm just going to put TX. For New York, I'm going to just put NY and stuff like that, just to save memory and stuff. And as you can see at the bottom right here, we have more. So we're going to get to that later on because we just want to make it simple. And then in other videos, we are going to talk about these features. Okay, so after state, we have hours. Now, hours is not a text, it's a number. Okay, so I'm going to choose a number. That's how many hours. I can give a description here, which means the number of hours worked by the employee per week. So here there's just description. You can just put it any way you want. Okay, as you can see right here, it says long integer. I don't need a long integer, just like integer, simple. Why? Because you're not going to work more than maximum 48. So that's like a small number. Long integer if you are dealing with huge numbers. Okay, now after hours, I'm going to put pay rates. Now, pay rate, it is a number, but it comes with a dollar sign, so there is a name for that, currency. Okay, we can say, for example, do a pay per hour. Okay, and after pay rate, we have date hired. That means what is the date the employee was hired, and that's definitely date and time. And even within date and time, as you can see, if you go to format, the different types. What does it look like? So there's different ways you can display the date and time. You can have the general date. It combines both the date and time. Long date. I'm going to choose only short date because it's simple. And that's the one that we frequently use. It shows the month and then forward slash and the day and then the year. Okay. And then finally, then okay. And then the finally is health insurance. Now, health insurance, it's not a number, it's not text, it's either yes or no. Do you have health insurance or not? So we're going to use yes or no. Okay, so we're going to say here whether the employee has insurance, health insurance or not, either yes or no. Okay. Now, once I'm done with this, now it's time, because now it's empty. I just defined the attributes or the fields. Now I'm going to change view. As you can see, to change view, you go here and then you go to data sheet view. That's where you put the information. So it's going to prompt me to say, because I made some changes, so I'm going to click yes. So all these changes are saved. As you can see right here, there's nothing, it's empty. And then I'm going to start putting the information. So for example, let's say the first one is B25, it's like a random ID. And then I'm going to put here Steve, Johnson, for example, TX. If I try to put more, then I'm going to have a problem. See, it doesn't allow me because I said only Q is allowed. Okay. And then hours, let's say 40 hours. So if the employee works 40 hours or more, that's full time. Less than 40, that's part time. And then the pay rate, let's say $25. Because you put the currency, so automatically it comes with the dollar sign. Date hired. So let's say, for example, it's 11/02/2018. Now, if I skip typing like this, it's going to take me more time because I have to put the forward slash. It takes me also a while. So there's a way to make the computer or the program Access help me with the format. Okay, how do we do that? So I'm going to go back to design view. And then can you see like dates? I'm going to go right here, and then there is input mask, which is the second feature. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell the program, listen, I don't want to waste my time with the format. Can you take care of it? Okay. So I'm going to tell them, okay, what type, short date, and then click next, next, and finish. That's all what you need to do. So now, if I go back to the sheet view, I don't have to put the forward the format. The format, I just have to enter the numbers. Like for example, let's say, okay, let's say here they have Steve has health insurance. So let's enter the second information. Let's say A12360. And then I have, let's say, Maria Gomez. And then she's from Georgia. And she works only 30 hours. She gets paid $20 per hour. Now look at the date hired. I just have to enter the numbers, and then the program will, take care of the format. So for example, if I put 12 December 01/2019, see, I don't have to worry about the format. So that's going to make it more much easier for me to enter the information. And then you continue until the end. If you don't check, then it means the employee does not have health insurance. So once you are done, then you have all the information about the employee. So this is basically how you create a database, and also how you create a table. Okay. So in the next lecture, we're going to learn how to search or how to retrieve information from our database, because most of the time we don't need all the information out there. We just need like a specific section. For example, let's say I'm looking for the employees who live in Texas only. I don't need all of them for whatever reason. Okay, so that's what we call queries, and that's what we're going to be doing in the next lecture. I hope you find this lecture useful. Like always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.